Welcome, friends, to tonight's review, and it's a very special review. First off, I believe that I've finally fixed the clipping problems, mainly by fiddling around with my audio input and by putting my condenser mic in my shoe, as I can show you here. It's in the microphone is in my shoe. But that's not all that's very special tonight. Tonight, I'm going to be reviewing my first, whoopsie, a little bit drippy there, my first barrel-aged beer. This is Clown Shoe's Billionaire, which is an English-style barleywine ale aged in cognac barrels. So, this is a 4th anniversary special limited release by the company. Clown Shoes, which makes some really great high gravity beers. This being extremely high gravity, this is 12% ABV. So this is as strong as a regular wine. And yes, I am going to drink all of this tonight. So I have two glasses here. I have my regular sort of stout glass, but I'm also going to pour a little bit into my whiskey glass to nose. So I've had this warming a little bit. It still feels a little bit too cold. Something that's barrel aged should be drank at about 60 degrees or so. Oh my goodness. You can smell it as soon as you open this. I don't think I'm going to be needing my whiskey glass to go and nose this, folks. My goodness. Not much in the way of head, as you can see here, but not really expecting much in the way of head. Actually, I'm going to pour a little bit of this into the whiskey glass anyway, mainly so it'll warm up a little bit quicker. And it's going to be a fairly long review, folks. I want to give it its full worth here. So the head has fully dissipated, and this is a very cloudy, unfiltered, tannish brown color. Very thick and viscous, even without drinking it. When I do this, it just kind of sticks to the sides. Let's see if I can get a difference out of this. Very strong smelling. Primary hint is of course, cognac, raisins, chocolate-covered raisins, like really high premium chocolate-covered like raisins, like dates, prunes. Basically, a lot of dried fruit, but it's very, the raisins and dates are very at the forefront here. Some slight rummy notes to it. Leather. Yes, leather. And pretty much, pipe tobacco. I would say it's very reminiscent of flavored burley pipe tobacco. It has that sort of richness to it. Low carbonation. This does not feel 12% ABV. There's no booziness, there's no burn. The only real way that you can tell that it's powerful is by the thickness of it. This is incredibly complex. Interesting. The nose on this is actually slightly different. I'd say that the fruit and chocolate is reduced to, and the leather and the tobacco is much more apparent. Taste is fairly much the same though at this point. Still fairly cold in this glass. The strongest taste that comes out to me is in the mid palate there, and it's a very strong wine note, a very vinous red note to it. At the front is chocolate. You don't really taste the stewed fruits on your tongue, but while it's in your mouth, that fruity scent goes up into your nose, and it's a lot stronger. It's a very strong, long finish that I can't quite place my finger on. It's still there and is bitter, but it's not really a sharp hops bitterness. It doesn't really seem to be. I mean, yeah, it's definitely wood. And almost a tobacco note towards the finish. Though instead of, like I said, it smelled like burley pipe tobacco, it has a much more cigar tobacco leaf finish note, in that there's more of a sharp bitterness to it, whereas I always associate pipe tobacco with a, especially, well, I don't know, I guess it could be unflavored burley sort of note, because unflavored burley has a bit of a bitter finish to it. What's interesting is there's almost like two different kinds of sweetness on here. You have a sort of initial sweetness, and then you have a sort of different sweetness that comes around. Let me go and see if I can put a better finger on it. Yeah, there's the immediate sweetness that comes when you drink it. That's sort of a part of that chocolatey, fruity front end. And then there's that finish that kind of comes after that vinous part. And it's almost like a port finish, very port-like, a port-like sweetness that comes and goes fairly quickly before that bittering finish comes in. Which I guess the bittering finish is really a combination of what hops they used and what malts they used, because it doesn't really seem like a straight malt, toasted malt finish or a hops finish. It's kind of both. Interestingly, yeah, it's kind of almost getting a coffee-like note, a black coffee-like note to the bittering finish, and it's really quite striking because there's that intense sweetness that immediately becomes a long bitter finish. Okay, that one's getting a little warm. I'm getting something in the front there. Let me try this one since it's warmed up. This one's got a little bit can really, I'm not sure, let me see if you can really see how thick the head is here. I guess because my whiskey glass is cleaner than this one. I have trouble cleaning my beer glasses because I don't have a dedicated rag for my beer glasses. Yeah, as it warms up, that bitter finish becomes stronger. I really am struck by the lightness of the body of this compared to the intensity and complexity of the flavor. It really does not feel like a 12%. It really doesn't even have as thick of a mouthfeel as other barley wines I've had. But then I've never really had much in the way of English barley wines. I've mostly had American barley wines. Yeah, definitely a tobacco coffee bitterness towards the finish is, gets stronger as it gets warmer. Look at that perfect ring. As it warms, slight booziness starting to come through, but nothing overwhelming and nothing really too unpleasant. It kind of accentuates the port-like notes to it. Port. I'm guessing port is also a cognac note. I don't really know cognac all that well, so I can't really go and say, yeah, super cognac. I've had cognac once in my life, so and that was before I really got into drinking for flavor. Yeah, it just kind of really shifts, you know. It's just all over the place in regards to notes, and all over the place in a good way, and that you can't really put your finger on it. It's always popping in dark chocolate, you know, stewed fruit, wine, port wine, tobacco, maybe rum and cognac, hints of wood. This is a really complex and delicious beverage. I'm quite enjoying it, and I can feel it sneaking up on me too. So let me go and talk a little bit more about this before I let you all go. And this should still be in the stores. It's a fairly recent release, but like I said, it's a limited release. Once the bottles are gone, you're not going to see it again. And for a barrel-aged beer, they've actually released a fair number of it. So you're not going to have people going and clearing out the shelves in that idiotic collector's rush. You can go over to Whole Foods, you can go over to your bottle shop. If you're West Coast, I believe this is a West Coast brewery, and you'll be able to buy this, and it's actually fairly affordable. It only cost me about $17 for this bomber. So I think it's an excellent introduction to really sort of high quality craft brewed barrel aged beer that's immediately obtainable as compared to say Kentucky Breakfast Stout or Goose Island Bourbon County Stout, which it's like people line up and it's sold out within 2 or 3 days. The only other thing I've ever seen that's really barrel aged that kind of stays on the shelf is the Widmer Brothers one, which is a bourbon one, and it's not the best bourbon one, so I've heard, but I'm going to be trying it when I have the chance. But more importantly, this is the only cognac barrel aged beer that I know of anyway. I'm open to correction, and so it's fairly unique and very, very good. I'm not blown away by this by any means, mainly because, like I said, I'm really a session type person. I don't really do these heavy beers, but it's very good. Trust me on this. It's deep, complex, and I highly recommend it, and I highly recommend that you go out and get a bottle before they're all gone. Okay. Cheers, folks.